Hi everybody, it's Christina. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a reading update to share with you. I have a few books that I finished out in 2024, plus my first read for 2025, and then I'll jump into what I'm currently reading. So for the bulk of December, I was working on this. This is the Penguin book of Christmas stories. I did not finish it. I'm on page 177, and I think what I'm going to do is just keep this on my Goodreads currently reading shelf until we get to the next holiday season, and then hopefully I will finish it then. I really struggle with short stories. I get bored of them really easily, and I don't feel compelled to continue reading them. And so when my library hold came in, this got put on the back burner. And that book that came in from the library is Tender as the Flesh. I've heard about this on multiple YouTube channels, most notably Emily Fox's channel, and Whitney from Whitney Novels talked about this as well. This is translated from the Spanish. It's written by an Argentinian author, and it's a dystopian novel, which is one of my favorites. It's set in Argentina, where all of the animals in the world have suddenly gotten this virus, and they can no longer be consumed. They can no longer be kept as pets. They're just not safe. And so what do humans do? Humans love meat, so they start eating each other, and the government gets involved, and they start factory farming humans, which of course is disturbing. But for me, I'm vegan. I've been vegan for almost 9 years now, so I really loved this concept because I think if you read this book and you're disturbed and you eat meat, you are already participating in the same exact system, because it was very clear that our author had done research on the meat industry that currently exists in the world today. So I really love that concept. It is a little bit gross to read about, for sure, but just know that what happens in this book is very accurate to what happens in the world today, except that non-human animals are treated even worse. They are tortured worse. They are kept in much smaller cages. The meat that you eat is totally diseased and not well protected like it is here. So I'll get off my soapbox now, but because of that, I really love the concept of this book. I did give this a 3.5-star rating, primarily because the main character, I wasn't a big fan of him. He acts morally superior to everyone else around him. He's the manager of one of the processing plants, and he says he only works there because he needs money to pay for his father's nursing home, which totally understandable. I get it. But he's so bad. He essays to women in this book, which are pretty brutal scenes, I will say, and he tries to be a morally great character because you do feel bad for him, not only for his father, but his infant son, you find out, died. So he's empathetic in that way, but he's also so horrible that it was hard for me to really root for him throughout the novel. And in the end, I find that I think the author wanted him to be that way, but it just detracted from my reading experience a bit. Otherwise, I highly recommend this book. Like I said, for me, it's pro-vegan propaganda, whether or not the author intended it as such, but it's a short book. The writing is pretty simple and basic, so you can fly through it really quickly. I ended 2024 by rereading a childhood favorite, which is The Luckiest Girl by Beverly Cleary, mainly because Ariel Bissett has been raving about this on the Books Unbound podcast, and she included this as one of her favorite books of the year. Now, this is written in 1958. It certainly is a bit of a product of its time because there's zero diversity in it, and it's extremely heteronormative, but it is a very wholesome, heartwarming story, and I like it for those reasons. We follow Shelley. She's 16 years old and she's from Oregon, but she goes to spend the school year with her mother's college roommate's family. It's a mouthful, but she's staying with friends of the family, and they're in California. So it's a new experience for her. And of course, we see her as she's meeting the new boys at her school and experiencing life in California for the first time. For me, the themes that I really loved are the themes of girlhood versus womanhood and growing into a woman. I also love the mother-daughter relationship aspect. I actually saw a lot of myself and my own mother in this book and read some of the passages aloud to her, so that was interesting. And I also really like the idea of Shelley romanticizing her life. I know that's kind of trendy right now, but she really does that in this book, and I think it reminds us that even things that are normal, everyday things, whether it be trees or the weather or our jobs, we can make them special if we appreciate them. So this is a good 4-star read. Like I said, it's a product of its time, but overall, I think the themes hold up, and there's nothing really horrible about it like some older books. One funny thing that I found in here, like I said, this is my childhood book. There's a random Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone Uno card with a copyright date of the year 2000. Obviously, I don't support Harry Potter anymore because of J.K. Rowling's horrible beliefs, but I still thought it was kind of funny that that was stuck in my childhood book. Let's talk about my first read of 2025. It was an ebook review copy of Allison Raskin's first romantic comedy novel, Save the Date. I've watched Allison and Gabe Dunn on their YouTube channel for years now. Their channel is called Just Between Us. And so I've read both of their jointly written YA novels. I've read Gabe's book about money. I think it's called Bad with Money. And I've read Allison's first nonfiction book, Overthinking About You. So I pretty much read all their books. This one is loosely based on Allison's life. Our main character is Emma Moskowitz. She was dumped by her fiance 6 months before their wedding in what she calls the abandonment. And all he said one day is something was missing and he could no longer marry her. So she decides, because she has already planned her wedding and a lot of deposits have already been paid, she's going to find a new groom. And so it's this really fun concept. She tries to reconnect with an ex. She meets this guy she used to know from her old apartment complex, and then she does online dating. So there's a lot of fun and hijinks in the book. I do like reading a rom-com where the main character, I feel like, is a modern woman. She works as a therapist. She has liberal beliefs and politics. So that's all very refreshing because I feel like sometimes these more contemporary novels can lean a bit to the right for me. But that was nice in this book. I also did enjoy that I knew loosely a lot of the characters in the book because they are based on Allison's real life, including her family members and some of her partners in the book, obviously. So since I follow her online, I was familiar with the characters. That did make me wonder, though, if you're not familiar with her content online, if you'd be a little bit lost. So that detracted a little bit from my reading experience. And I also wasn't a huge fan of how much our protagonist in this book lies. She lies multiple times, and she even comments about how she's fine with telling white lies, and I personally do not agree with that, so that detracted a little bit from my experience as well. Overall, though, I think this is very entertaining. It's lighthearted. It's a really fun rom-com. I gave it 3.5 stars. If you like this genre, I would definitely recommend it. That's not usually my cup of tea, but I still think it was a great way for me to start off my year, and I'm glad I read it. And I will probably read the next rom-com she puts out because she's already mentioned that she's writing another one. And finally, I will mention my current read. This morning I started The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I don't know why, it was just calling to me on my shelf. I know I mentioned recently that I thought I would just not read this one, but I am 22 pages in and it's actually quite funny. I've really enjoyed the early banter in this book, so I'm going to give it a shot. If I get bored, I'm going to DNF it because when you're trying to read 100 books in a year, you just don't have time to slog through bad books. So hopefully this will stand the test of time. We will see. that's my reading update to wrap up 2024 and start off 2025. I hope to spend the next couple of weeks reading my TBR books because I'm going to be traveling soon and I want to buy some books while I'm on the road, which means I need to work my physical TBR down to less than 5 books in order to buy some new ones. That's it for this video. Let me know if you've read any of these books and your thoughts on them. Let me know what you're currently reading, and I will see you next time.